Big Daddy here with a video on Ubuntu Mate 16.10. This will be just like my first impressions of it, not a full-blown review, but I am not used to the Mate desktop. I've always uh, kind of bypassed it, but there's so much talk about it lately that I figured I'd give it a try and see what it's all about. Now, I know that it runs quick. I know that it runs on older hardware, so they recommend it for new users coming over from Windows and um, for older hardware. So in case you don't have like this high top quality machine and you can't run KDE or you can't run Cinnamon because of the resources that it takes up, this is a good start of a system. Now, the latest version of Ubuntu Mate is 16.10, and it is a interim release, so it's not a long-term support release. But we're going to check it out here and see what it looks like. So we're going to check it out together because this is like I said, not the first time I've ever been on a Mate desktop, but definitely not a expert at it. So um, this is the default system that it comes with. I didn't change anything except for trying to install Simple Screen Recorder, which I was unsuccessful at. Um, I did add the PPA to it, and it does have a Yakety folder in the PPA, but for some reason it fails to fetch the what it needs to install Simple Screen Recorder. I looked in the software boutique and it is not there. So I guess I could, well, let's do this here. Let's see if we can install Synaptic. And this is what the software boutique looks like. It is pretty nice, I have to say. It's one of the nicest ones out there. And this does not have every item that you could think of in it, but it does have a lot of items that other distributions don't have in it. I was actually surprised to see that Simple Screen Recorder wasn't in here. So, like for example, Chromium, if you wanted to install that by a one-click touch, you don't have to go nowhere and get it. Um, you can actually do that. And like I said, most desktop environments don't have things like this, like Google Chrome, in their normal. You have to do something extra. You have to add a repository or do something extra to get it. InSync is in here. I noticed Skype is in here. Spotify's in here. So there's a lot to offer about this. Now there is um, fixes here, and there's more software. So what it allows you to do is it allows you to install the another basically another software center, and it also allows you to install Synaptic Package Manager, which just for you know giggles, we're going to go and we're going to install Synaptic Package Manager, and this also allows you to reinstall it, remove it, or launch it from here as well. Now, will they both work together? I don't know if they will or not, because usually they have issues and problems with working together, and that appeared on my other screen. And it's one problem with Linux that they just can't fix everywhere is that it is um, dual screens give Linux graphics a really hard time. So let's do a quick search here for simple screen recorder. And now I do not see it in here. That's like surprising because you would think it would be in here. And there's like 8 billion things that come up when you type in simple. I guess because I'm simple. I don't know. Seems funny to me, but simple scan, no, does not seem to be in here. Okay, so there you have that. That answers that question. So it's not my imagination. It is in there. Not sure what that is, but I guess that's a notification of some kind. Okay, so there have been other videos about the software boutique, which is, I'm not going to go into depth into each individual program on it, but needless to say, it's a very nice um, software center for most programs out there. I just happened to run into one that I couldn't get installed. So, all right, let's go here. We have the welcome screen, which comes up when you first come up. And, like I always say, it doesn't mean anything to me because I'm okay with fudging around through the system and figuring out what's going on. But for a new user who's coming over from Windows, this would actually be pretty good. Um, this software actually opens up the software boutique. So that's a link right there. And just so you know, this is on actual hardware. Ooh, crashed on me. Whoa. Okay, well, there you go. There's your first crash. Anyway, this is on actual hardware, an SSD drive. I don't do reviews on VirtualBox if I can help it. So anything you see here is not because of a system. I got 8 gigs of RAM and an SSD drive, an i7 processor. So you don't have to. I don't have to worry about whether or not it's a problem with the VirtualBox or not. So, enough about the welcome screen. We can go past that. This is your menu that they have, your application launcher. So it's like a threefold system here. Here's your applications, and it's a pretty quick menu, although it doesn't have, it's an older type menu. For people that have used older Linux versions, I'm sure they love this. I'm not real fond of it. Um, it doesn't have a search. It doesn't have extra things in it. But here is a places menu, which I do like. I wish more distributions would put this, either incorporate this into their application menu or actually have a places link. Like Cinnamon, you have to actually add a desktop widget or desklet, something like that, to actually get a places. But I use that often. And here is your system. Now, I said about new users. And the only thing, well, one of the things that I noticed right off the bat is I would probably recommend this to people for new users, but then I look at it and it could be very overwhelming for a new user to come in here and to try to figure out what's going on. I mean, think about when you first came over to from Windows into Linux, um, and you might not know where to go. Like, okay, Control Center, but here, for example, say you want to install software and you've closed the welcome screen. So how do you get there? Well, you go to System and you go to Administration, obviously, but then when you get here, do you open the Software Boutique? Do you open the software updater? Now, yes, if you're an intuitive person, yeah, you're going to wait for it to highlight and everything. But if you're just going to hit administration, you're a new user, where do I go? Software boutique, software updater, software and updates. It's kind of like, I think it should be somehow a little bit more condensed for a new user, a little bit more plainer to say, uh, whoa. I love it. I love real-time videos with real-time crashes in them. So, okay, Python crashed. All right. All right. So, I that's one thing I think that could be improved on is the cohesiveness for a new user. Sure, like here, it tells you what it is. Configure the sources for installable softwares and updates. But to a new user, that's Greek. I can tell you that. He's not going to know what sources are. He's not going to know what software and updates are. Show and install available updates. Yeah, that should be a system updater maybe instead of a software updater. Right when you have software boutique. So that's why I said it's kind of like a little bit that would that would confuse a new user. I'm just going to say it like that. That would confuse a new user. You do have preferences, and it does kind of segregate all of them. But like I said, this particular menu would probably be overwhelming for a new user to know where to go, to what to look for. Now, yeah, he can open Control Center And it's if he knows what he's looking for, it's going to work. But for your, Uncle Dave, who's never done anything but Windows, I think it's a little bit overwhelming. That's all I'm saying. All right, so let's go through this a little bit. Mate tweak. You can show the desktop icons, or you can not show the desktop icons. You can tell it which ones to show. And actually, they pop up on the second monitor. Wow, it's great. I do not like mounted volume showing, but I don't mind. I don't usually like desktop icons, but I don't mind the home folder and the computer folder. Um, but since I got the places, I don't really need those. So we're just going to not show desktop icons. The interface, you can show icons on menus, on the buttons. You can change how they look, text beside the icons or icons only. And you can change the icon size from large to small. For panels, um, right now we're running the Ubuntu Mate panel, which is this up here and this down here. All of this down here. And you have a pager down here to show desktops. Right now we're running 4 desktops, virtual, whatever you want to call them. KD calls them activities. Here's a show desktop icon. And this is basically, I do like this idea where this is clean up here and this shows you your windows, but I'm not a big fan of uh, of the of this type of thing. I would rather have like a plank toolbar at the bottom. So, but you can change that. And if you go to here and you go to the panel, you can do Ubuntu Redmond, which obviously makes it look like more of a Windows-esque. Um, and I think a new user probably would be better off with this than they would be with the regular. And yeah, that's a kind of obvious because it's a Redmond type theme, but and it's a good thing that they put it in. I would just suggest to people who install this for the first time, change it to this so that you can actually get around and know what's going on. Um, but they have Netbook, which I don't know exactly why you would use, except if you liked it that way, and I don't know why you would like it that way. But okay, so they have Mutiny, which is a a Unity look type thing. It doesn't look like Unity, but it's a worthy try to show what it looks like. Um, it has this is on the side. It shows you which applications are open with the little by the little circle. And I'm sure if you change the theme, these will be different in some way, whether they be highlighted or whether they be something will change with those. Um, but it's a decent try, but I mean it's not quite exactly like Unity. Now you have GNOME 2, which is sort of like the default Ubuntu Mate. I don't see a whole lot of difference with it, except maybe, yeah, I don't see a whole lot of difference in it. Maybe with the activities or something like that, it comes up different. But Fedora, I'm wondering if this is not having an issue, because this isn't changing the way it should, I don't think. Cupertino is kind of probably what I prefer. Um, and I would say, I mean, like this is a plank toolbar, and this is how I run. Like I normally run KDE Neon, and this is the way I have it. My panel up at the top and my plank at the bottom. Um, but you can change the icon size on these to 48 pixel if you want, but somewhere along the line, okay, so you got to enable indicators. So I guess you get, whoa, another crash. See, man, I don't know if now I watched videos. I watched a video from Rob Collins and Linux Quest and a few other ones, and I didn't see them have these issues here. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on, or it just has to do with my hardware or what, but this is a little disappointing, I would think. Um, enable advanced menu. I'm not sure what that does. Oh, see, now that to me should be the default menu. That to me, for a new user, would be much better than the regular menu that's up there. Now, like I said, for if you like that type of old style menu, that's great. But for people coming over from Windows and whatnot, they're going to want something like this, where they can actually see their favorites. They can actually, it's concise, it's here, it's your folders, your system, and your programs. So yeah, that's not bad. I don't mind that at all. One of the reasons why I'm reviewing this is to see how Mate has progressed and to see if it was something that I would like or would want to run. I mean, like I said, I run KDE Neon right now, and I mean, you can't beat it for customization for everything else, but could I go back and run something like this? I don't know. So what does this do? Enable launcher. Oh, that's for snaps. I don't need that. Enable the pull down terminal. That would be nice. Now, of course, it pulls it down. You can't see it. It pulls it down on my second dual monitor. That's a downer. Um, and let's see here. Enable animations. Now, I know you can move this. I know you can raise this panel. There you go. Right click and hit properties. That's where you're going to find out the big icons. All right. So I don't like the really small panels. So I'm going to go up to, well, that's a little too big. 48. And we'll leave it at the top. I don't want to auto hide it. Show hide buttons. No, I don't want to show the hide buttons. Background. You can use the system theme or you can change it to a solid color, which, like I know that family members who would want to switch this to a solid color like that. Now I'd have to change the font color, but yeah, they would definitely want to switch that to a solid color, which is something surprisingly you can't do in KDE. You can't switch it to a solid color. It does not give you that option. I don't know why. So the one thing I do miss about KDE, or would miss about KDE, is being able to customize like your buttons. Like I normally run with just a close button over here and a minimize over here. Um, and you can switch it to the left, but it pretty much puts everything over here, which is what I'm used to, I guess. But I would like to be able to remove these because I don't use a maximize button because you can just double click on the title bar to maximize it. So why would I need a button for it? Now, the window manager that comes default is Marco, and it comes as a compositor, which means that it's going to have a little bit of extra graphics, a little flash of whatever, like the animation when the window comes up. Um, and you can switch it to the GPU compositor, which I'm not sure exactly how that would affect things. You may even have to log out and log back in to see. I'm not sure how the animations would work. Okay, and you can also go to Compiz, which is a very, very in-depth, a much higher tech animation window manager than Marco, but it also can have a lot more crashes with with Compiz. So I haven't had in the past on when I've tried systems for Compiz like XFCE and whatnot, I have not had good times with it. It crashed pretty regularly, in my opinion. All right, so let's see if I can move the clock around. So if I right click and hit properties, can I move any of these buttons, any of these things here? So if I hit add to panel, I can't move any of these where I want them. Like I couldn't, can I guess I can't move this to the center. I see that's something that I would like to do. It just doesn't give you the option. I'm pretty sure XFCE you can move these items around. Um, but these are all forks of GNOME, so they're still up and coming. They're still gaining features as the years progress, and every year they add more features to the operating system, to the not operating system, to the desktop environment. So this is still, say, behind something like Cinnamon KDE, um, but it is getting better every year. So when you go in, say, into the settings like this, and I gotta actually, this has not been, yeah, this is not working right now. This is, Control Center is frozen. So let's see here if they got a system monitor or something, so I can kill that. And I have a little thing on my KDE that I can hit a keyboard shortcut and X out whatever is frozen, but I'm not there. That's just a little benefit of that. But like I said, there's a lot of settings in here and a lot of things you can change. It's just um, you know, not as up to date as a KDE or Cinnamon. So in here you have additional drivers, and I should tell you that when you're in the Welcome Center, um, let's open the Welcome Center again. Oh my gosh. In here, not in here. This is the software manager. Okay, so in the Welcome, you have places to obviously install software, but you also have the Getting Started feature, which it gives you this to say basically a to-do list once you get everything installed. So you can hit updates and extras, and it's going to check for updates. Everything is already up to date, so I don't, obviously it's not going to find anything. You can install additional codecs. You can install DVD playback. So this is pretty nice. But you can also install the drivers, and I should probably install the NVIDIA drivers. It brings you to the same place as the additional drivers, but I just wanted to show you how it affects new users. Um, so here's, you have the NVIDIA driver, which I have a 960 GT, and it's already using the Broadcom wireless network adapter, which is one thing I was surprised this was already in. Normally, I have to install this later. I don't have a wireless connection until I get into the desktop. Once I install a system, I don't have this until I get to the desktop and then go into the additional drivers and install it. But it was already there, so that was very nice. So I don't know if applying the NVIDIA drivers will affect anything as far as maybe the crashes are concerned. I don't know if that has anything to do with that. Um, but like I said, the only thing I did was install the um, screen recorder so that I could actually make a video. So maybe that'll fix some certain things. I don't know. As far as, let's see here, what do they got as far as appearance? Um, let's see here. So I'm a new user, and look, change theme. Hey, that's great. Now, this is one thing that I do like about the older desktop environments, that they change everything. Like in KDE, you have to worry about changing the Firefox theme separately from the KDE thing because it's a GTK. But when you do something like this, it changes everything. So I don't mind the black themes, but this is pretty black. That's what I was gonna say. It's pretty dark. Let's see what Blue Submarine looks like. See, that's not bad. That would be a Windows user, and I'm sure it's just as easy to look at this. Let's see how easy it really is. Get more themes online. So most themes designed for GTK2 and GTK3 will work with Mate. I'm not sure. Well, you have no authorization for this page. Okay. I guess I don't know. Maybe genome look is down. But if you do this, you don't have to take everything on it. So say you want this black mate here, but you want or let's see, what does blue menta look like? Okay, so say you like the blue menta, but then you want the dark border up top. So you could take the black mate border with the blue menta theme, and you can customize it that way. It doesn't have to be a one size fits all for everything. You could take the blue submarine with that, and that would probably be a decent theme. So now that that has a black font, let's see what this would look like if you did a color. See, now that's something that certain people would like. Um, Maybe not that light blue, but I'm not going to like that. But that's what I'm saying is people like different things. People coming over from Windows are going to want to customize it to the way they like it. So, well, to be honest with you, I don't know how much customizing they're going to want to do. So, all right. So enough about the themes. Let's go to the backgrounds. Um, Now, a lot of people talk about how many backgrounds desktop environments have, and that's all fine and well, but I mean, really, most people are going to change that anyway. So most people are going to change the wallpaper anyway. So the backgrounds don't really have a effect on me as far as, wow, that's got a lot of backgrounds. Here you can change the fonts and you can change the interface. Um, Menus and toolbar, show icons. That's about all you got there. Okay, so you can set your preferred applications, but you can do that on pretty much on any system. What else do you got? Administration. You can change the greeter. The only thing that I noticed that on the greeter settings is you can pretty much change everything on here. I couldn't find a option to turn on the number locks because I always run into a problem because I use a password that contains numbers and letters, and I'll use like two hands, but I'll always have my right hand on the number pad part of the keyboard, and the number locks is never on. So yes, I could get used to typing with the number keys above the letters, but I'm so used to typing with the right hand there with my hand on the number pad that I always look for putting the number locks on boot. And I mean, again, I go back to Windows users coming over to Linux, where that's just a standard. Where if you boot up into a Windows machine, you don't have to turn the number locks on. They're on by default. And I think, to me, to be honest with you, number locks should be on every desktop environment at boot up. We shouldn't have to wait till we get into, like, KDE has a setting, even the new Plasma. KDE has a setting where you can enable the number locks, but it's not until you get into KDE that it turns it on. You have to actually put in an SSDM config file into one of the folders in order to have number locks on the login screen. I just think it's a mistake by developers that they don't add that automatically. So here you can change your window position for your login, the little box for your login. You can put it in the center or up right or whatever. So there's a ton of, or you can actually do it by, if you know exactly where you are, where you want it, you can do it in an exact location. Like I remember I had one wallpaper where I wanted it in an exact location to fit what was around it in the wallpaper, and I ended up moving it to the exact spot I wanted it, which was really nice. So like I said, there's a lot of uh, settings in here. I just was disappointed to see that there wasn't the number lock. All right. So yeah, definitely a let's see here. What's the main menu? Oh, that's to configure this. I would take it. And as you can see, changing the theme does change the way this menu looks, which is okay. Let me see. Can you right click and hit the preferences? All right. I don't know. Let's see here. Favorites, swap the generic name and generic name. So yeah, see now that's okay for a new user web browser. For a brand new spanking user who's coming over from Windows, that's great. Calculator who doesn't know all the names to the programs. Like if it says Pluma, nobody's going to know that that's like Notepad. But for me, I want it to say Pluma, so I know. Wouldn't mind actually getting rid of the generic name altogether. I don't know if that's possible here. Um, let's see here. So you can customize this menu by taking out what you don't want. Like if you don't want the lock screen on there, boom, it's gone. You don't need it. And that is pretty nice. You can change the icon size for these over here. I don't want to change them because you know what? I usually change icon sizes and I make the icons really big, and then and it just messes everything, the look of it up. I would change the favorites icon size a little bit bigger. See, they're a little bit bigger because they should be, I would think. I mean, I don't know if I would go any higher than that. I don't think I would go to 48. Why are you going to 48? Yeah, that's like way too big. Okay, so let's do 38 and see what that looks like. Yeah, that's fine. So I don't think it matters because it probably doesn't change until 32. But yeah, see now that looks okay. I wouldn't change these because that's what you want. You recognize Firefox by the icon, but you're not going to recognize network by the icon. And well, you may, but the other thing is if you change icon themes, then you might have an icon you might not know. So you really need that there. So that's a really customizable menu, probably one of the better menus out there. Um, yeah, probably one of the better menus out there. So looking around here, let's see what else we got. We looked at the applications, system tools, preferences. Yeah, look, it's not an overdrawn review here. It's just my first thoughts and impressions on it. Um, and like I said, I don't know all of it. There may be tons more features that I'm not mentioning. And like I said about moving this clock, move maybe if you unlock the panel, maybe you can move the clock. I don't know. But it would be nice to move this in here because that's where I like the clock. It's funny because I like the look of elementary OS. I just don't like how locked down it is. Like I like the idea of it, like it has the close buttons on the left and it has the clock in the middle on the panel. It's a clean looking operating system. But once you get past that very clean look, it's so locked down that you have to go in and change a ton of stuff if you want to make it your own and customize it. So but this Ubuntu Mate is a pretty nice operating system. I think next I will review the Linux Mint Mate and see what Mint has done to make it user friendly. They're known for making it new person, newbie friendly. So this will be the Ubuntu Mate review, and then maybe I'll do a Linux Mint review and see on the Mate version, see what that comes up with. All right. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. And other than that, Big Daddy out. No, really. You thought I was going, didn't you? But I'm not. Okay, now I'm going. See ya.